Morning children. So today we are going to start with the new lesson in the science, that is lesson number 2. Is matter around us pure? Okay. See, we have completed the first chapter. So today we are going to deal with the second chapter. And let us see what are the topics that we are going to study. Now children, here you can see a car which is being rusted. Okay. This is the rusted car. Now here you can see a person cutting the wood. Okay, so and here the wood is being burnt. Okay, so you can see the fire, and there an egg has been turned into an omelette. So what are these changes? And here you can see the ice. Yes, the ice started melting. See here. So there are two types of changes which you are seeing, a physical change and a chemical change. Cutting of wood, melting of ice is the physical change, and rusting of iron and burning of wood is called as a chemical changes. Okay, so let us understand what is physical change and chemical change. Here, when we cut the wood, there is no new substance formed. Okay, so this is called as a physical change, and when you are burning the wood, all that wood will burn into ash. So here, and we get the light and the heat. So this is a chemical change. So the changes which you see in the matter is of two types, physical change and a chemical change. Okay, in this chapter we are going to study how, that is the definition of physical and chemical changes, to identify the type of change with the examples, and will define what is the pure substances and mixture, and will also list the properties of element, mixture and compounds, and categorize the substance, element, mixture and compounds. Okay, so today in this video we are going to learn about the physical and chemical changes, and will identify the type of changes with the example. Now here the ice is melting, okay, and it's changing to water. So what is this example? It is a physical change. There is no new substance formed, only the state has changed. Now let us see another example. Okay, so let us take two beakers, and in both the beakers you take the same amount of sugar, that is the 20 grams of sugar, and let us label it as beaker A and beaker B. In beaker A, pour some water. Okay, so and dissolve the sugar. So the sugar get dissolved here and form sugar solution. And beaker B, add sulfuric acid. As soon as you add sulfuric acid, the sugar will burn and turn into a char. Okay, the sugar get charred, so your sugar is being charcoaled. So what is the difference in both of these? See, in the beaker A, there is no new substance form. It is the sugar. The water will be sweet. There is no new component form here. So it has undergone a physical change only. Whereas in beaker B, there is completely new substance form. Okay, so you can see we cannot get back the sugar. Here in beaker A, if you evaporate the water, we'll get the sugar back. Okay, so once again children, so what you are seeing, that in beaker A there was no new solution formed, and in beaker B the sugar has completely changed into a charcoal. So here we can get back the sugar by evaporating. So here we can get back the sugar solution evaporating the water, but here we cannot get back the sugar particles. Okay, it has completely changed into another substance, which is a coal. So I hope you have understood what is a physical change and what is a chemical change. In a physical change, only the state changes, whereas in a chemical change, entirely a new substance is being formed. So in physical change, there is no new substance formed. Okay, but in chemical change, completely new substance is being formed. Let us see the definition of physical change and chemical change. A physical change is a temporary change in the composition of the substances. A physical change is a temporary change in which the composition of the substance remains the same and no new substance formed, but only a change of the state occurs. Here you can see the examples of physical change: the melting of ice, the breaking of glass, the tearing of a paper, and the cutting of a wood, and the water changing into steam. So here what you see is only the physical state has been changed. Okay, so there is no new substance has been formed. Even after breaking of glass, is the glass is changed to new substance? No, it will remain as a glass only. So when you tear a paper, is there any new substance formed in tearing a paper? No. Okay, similarly when you cut a wood, okay, so what will happen? Is there any new compound or new substances will form here? No. Similarly, water, when it changes steam, what is it made up of? Water particles only. So in physical change, only the state changes. Let us see the definition of chemical change. A permanent change in which a new substance forms that has properties which are different from the original substance. So in a chemical change, a permanent change takes place, okay? Whereas in physical change, what is happening? Only a temporary change, okay? So this is not a permanent change in physical, it is a temporary change. But in chemical changes, you see a permanent change. Entirely a new substance is formed. And whose properties are also being changed from its original substance. In the previous example, the sugar was completely charred, okay, into charcoal when we added the acid. So the sugar has a different properties, the sweetness. But when it was charred, is the sweetness persist? No. The charcoal has completely different properties. Okay, so this is how a new substance is formed with the new properties. So once again children, so what you have seen that in beaker A there was no new solution formed, and in beaker B the sugar has completely changed into a charcoal. So here we can get back the sugar by evaporating. So here we can get back the sugar solution evaporating the water, but here we cannot get back the sugar particles. Okay, it has completely changed into another substance which is a coal. So I hope you have understood what is a physical change and what is a chemical change. In a physical change, only the state changes, whereas in a chemical change, entirely a new substance is being formed. So in physical change, there is no new substance formed. Okay, but in chemical change, completely new substance is being formed. Let us see the definition of physical change and chemical change. A physical change is a temporary change in which the composition of the substance remains the same and no new substance formed, but only a change of the state occurs. Here you can see the examples of physical change: the melting of ice, the breaking of glass, the tearing of a paper, and the cutting of a wood, and the water changing into steam. So here what you see is only the physical state has been changed. Okay, so there is no new substance has been formed. Even after breaking of glass, is the glass is changed to new substance? No, it will remain as a glass only. So when you tear a paper, is there any new substance formed in tearing a paper? No. Okay, similarly when you cut a wood, okay, so what will happen? Is there any new compound or new substances will form here? No. Similarly, water, when it changes steam, what is it made up of? Water particles only. So in physical change, only the state changes. Let us see the definition of chemical change. A permanent change in which a new substance forms that has properties which are different from the original substance. So in a chemical change, a permanent change takes place, okay? Whereas in physical change, what is happening? Only a temporary change, okay? So this is not a permanent change in physical, it is a temporary change. But in chemical changes, you see a permanent change. Entirely a new substance is formed, and whose properties are also being changed from its original substance. In the previous example, the sugar was completely charred, okay, into charcoal when we added the acid. So the sugar has a different properties, the sweetness. But when it was charred, is the sweetness persist? No. The charcoal has completely different properties. Okay, so this is how a new substance is formed with the new properties. The examples of chemical change. Here, the hydrogen and water react to form water molecule, entire new substance formed. Rusting of iron, burning of wood, fire, and the firecrackers, and the burning of mastic. Let us see the difference between a physical change and a chemical change. See, how do physical and chemical change differ from each other? Okay, think about ice. for a moment. After ice melts into liquid water, you can refreeze it into solid ice if the temperature drops. Okay, so freezing and melting are physical changes. Here in this example of physical change, when the water can be changed to solid form, liquid form and gaseous form. So it is only changing the state, okay, but it is not changing its chemical composition. There is no new substances being formed, only the state is being changed. So that changes in the matter is called as a physical changes. Now, the substances produced during chemical change, however, cannot easily change back into the original substances. Okay. So, for example, burning of wood into ashes cannot be turned back to wood. So, there is entirely a chemical change has taken place here. When you burn the wood, what is it turning into? Ashes. Okay. Can we again regain back our wood back from the ashes? No, it is not possible. So, there are completely new substances formed. So such changes in the matter is called as what? Chemical change. Now let us see some more differences between physical change and chemical change. Now see here children, there is some more differences. So let us understand between physical change and a chemical change. In a physical change, only physical properties such as the color, physical state, density, volume, etc. change, and the chemical properties remain unchanged. Whereas in chemical change, the chemical composition and chemical properties undergo a change. Okay, so this is what you see in a chemical change. The chemical composition, chemical properties both are changing. Now see the second point in physical change. No new substance formed in a physical change. Okay, there is no new substance. When you tear a paper, is there any new substance formed? No. See here, chemical change, a new substance is formed in a chemical change. See, milk is curdling of milk. Okay, when you add some sort of substance to the milk, what will happen? The milk will start curdling. Okay, it turns into a curd. So is the property of milk and curd same? No, there is entirely a new properties, a new substance formed. So what has undergone there? A chemical change. Now see the third property in physical change. Very little or no energy in the form of heat, light or sound is usually absorbed or given out in a physical change. So you can see there is no release of any very little, or you can say no energy is being released in the form of heat, light or sound, okay, in a physical change. But a chemical change is always accompanied by absorption or evolution of energy. Okay, a chemical change is always accompanied by absorption or evolution of energy. See here, in the sun, for example, in the sun, what is happening inside the star? Sun is a star, and what is happening inside the sun? There is a chemical reaction taking place. Lot of energy is released. Okay, so what you see, your energy is released. Your LPG gas, okay, when you burn or when you lit the charcoal or when you burn the wood, what is happening? There is a chemical reaction being taking place with the evolution of energy. Some chemical reaction will evolve energy, will release energy, and some chemical energy will, yes, absorb energy. So either they will absorb the heat or either they will evolve the heat. Evolve means to give out. Okay, absorption is to take. Absorption is to take. And evolution means to release. A physical change is a temporary change. Okay, so this is a temporary change. You can change it anytime. For example, water can be changed to solid form, water can be changed to liquid form or gaseous form. That is a temporary change. A chemical change is a permanent change. Okay, once the change has occurred, it will not be again be reversed back. Okay, so we cannot change a curd into milk. Now let us see the fifth point. The original form of substance can be regained by simple physical methods. So we can get back our substances by simple physical method. For example, suppose if you dissolve a sugar, okay, in water. So just now we have seen when we heat the water or when you evaporate the water, we can get back the sugar or salt which we have dissolved into water. Okay, so what is the simple physical method here? Evaporation. By simple physical methods we can get back a substance. Okay, so that is called as a physical change. But in chemical change, original substances cannot be obtained by simple physical method. Okay, so the same example where we added acid in the sugar, there was a chemical change taken place. By evaporation can we get back the sugar? No, it is not possible because it has entirely changed. Now see the 6th point here. A physical change is reversible. We can change it, we can reverse it. A physical change is reversible. Okay, whereas in a chemical change, the reaction is irreversible. We cannot get back the substances which are being that is the new substances which is in form. It cannot be changed into the original one. A chemical change is irreversible. See, the charcoal cannot be changed into the sugar. Okay, so these are the differences between a physical change and a chemical change. So children, for today you will learn the differences between physical change and chemical change. In my next video, I will teach you about what are pure substances and what are impure substances. Okay, so till now, goodbye.